Chair now recognizes the gentleman from New York's 20th District for 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome to our panelists. While I hope we can reach consensus on a bipartisan pipeline safety reauthorization, I have my doubts because recent history has shown that Republicans never miss an opportunity to promote fossil fuel industry interests. And we failed to reach agreement on a bipartisan bill last Congress, unlike our colleagues on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, because Republicans couldn't help themselves but to include extraneous provisions intended to promote oil and gas. And that dedication to fossil fuels led President Trump and congressional Republicans to end critical tax credits for fossil fuels' biggest competitors, renewables in the electricity sector and EVs in the transportation sector. This happened despite the fact that numerous independent analyses found that the Republicans' proposal will raise Americans' energy bills by more than $100 annually in the near term, growing to more than $400 within a decade. So during our last markup of energy bills, members of the majority continued to invoke the Keystone XL pipeline, suggesting that the Obama and Biden administrations killed jobs. But after the big ugly bill, it has become crystal clear who actually cares about American energy jobs. Don't take my word for it. Listen to the people who construct both renewable and pipeline projects. North America's building trades unions call the Republicans' big ugly bill, and I quote, the biggest job-killing bill in the history of this country. It is the equivalent of terminating more than 1,000 Keystone XL pipeline projects. So all of these years later, Republicans want to continue to relitigate Keystone while enacting a bill that will kill an estimated 1.75 million construction jobs, translating to $148 billion in lost annual wages and benefits for American workers. But, Mr. Karam, I want to try to highlight a couple of issues at PHMSA that may affect its ability to ensure safe operations of pipeline infrastructure. Your testimony noted that insufficient resources have resulted in PHMSA lacking technical capabilities, causing the agency to be overly reliant on regulated entities' technical expertise to carry out its responsibilities. This is an extremely troubling trend being implemented across many agencies by the Trump administration. Starving important, life-saving regulatory agencies of skilled personnel and resources is a surefire way to allow corporate entities to cut corners at the expense of everyday Americans and our collective public interests. We're seeing this playbook be executed right now as the Trump administration works to eliminate EPA's Office of Research and Development and lay off hundreds of chemists, toxicologists, and other scientists. And that is because these public servants produce independent science that regulated industries often don't like. Polluters want their regulators to be toothless, to rely upon them for science, and to lack the capacity to verify industry, produce studies, or enforce rules. So, Mr. Karam, I think you might suggest that there has been an historic funding challenge at PHMSA, limiting its ability to be an effective independent safety regulator. But do you have a sense of whether things will get better or worse if Congress further reduces PHMSA funding authorization levels, as was proposed by committee Republicans just a few years ago?
Yes, I'd have to imagine they would get worse.
So I thank you for that. And I want to highlight another disturbing trend being advanced by the Trump administration and Republicans in Congress. Between the ongoing appropriations process and the big ugly bill, federal budget cuts are pushing more and more costs onto state governments, which will require states to fill funding gaps or be forced to cut benefits and services. So, Mr. Karam, am I correct that states are partners in the effort to conduct inspections and oversight of pipelines?
Yes, the vast majority of the pipeline mileage in this country are under state jurisdiction for inspections and enforcement.
And if that commitment by the feds is reduced, what happens to the states?
Yes, state programs, as we've heard throughout this hearing, are in need of that funding. They can get up to 80% of their pipeline safety program reimbursed by federal funds through that state grant program, and historically they have not come close to that 80%.
So if states are unwilling or unable to cover more of the cost to be effective partners, will that make Americans more or less safe from potential pipeline risks?
I would imagine less safe.
Less safe. So not an outcome that we should all be working towards. So if we can avoid that, we should do our best to do so. With that, I thank you and yield back, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.